My name is Ellie, and my story isn't the kind you'd call heartwarming, but it's mine all the same. I was born to Sandra and Joe right after they got married, which was right before they got divorced. My mom remarried pretty quick to a guy named Thomas, who had a lot of money and a soft spot for me, but my real dad, Joe, he wasn't well off. He lived in a cramped apartment across town. Growing up, my mom always had this way of making me feel like I was more of a hassle than a daughter. She'd look at me, and all she'd see was my dad Joe, and it bugged her more than she'd admit. "You're just like him, Ellie," she'd say, like it was some kind of crime. Thomas tried to smooth things over, always gentle, always kind, but Mom had a sharpness that could cut any kindness to shreds. One day, I came home from school, dumped my bag by the door, and found Mom in the kitchen, staring out the window like she was waiting for something better to come along. "You eat yet?" she asked, her voice sharp, like she hoped the answer was no. "Not yet." Mom huffed. "Figures. You eat like there's no tomorrow, Ellie. Your father's alimony barely covers it." Dad was different. Every time I saw him, which was once a month, he made sure to have my favorite snacks ready. His place was small, cluttered, and smelled of old books and coffee, but it felt more like home than Mom's spotless house ever did. "You know, Ellie, it doesn't matter what we have. It's about what we do with it," Dad would say, his eyes crinkling with a smile as we'd sit and watch some old movie. "Yeah, I guess," I'd respond, wishing I could believe it as easily as he did. Mom never talked much about Dad unless she was complaining. One evening, after I'd spent the weekend with him, she looked at me with a frown as I walked in. "Smell like that tiny apartment," she said, her nose wrinkled in disgust as she turned back to her cooking. "Can't you at least try to not bring that smell back with you?" I didn't know what to say, so I didn't say anything. I went to my room, the one thing in the house that felt halfway mine, though it was more a storage space for Mom's home gym equipment than a bedroom. At dinner that night, Thomas tried to lighten the mood. "How's school, Ellie?" he asked, passing me the salt without me having to ask. "It's okay," I said, which was half true. I liked learning, liked my teachers, but the other kids? They weren't always so great. "That's my girl," Thomas smiled, but Mom just snorted. "Don't coddle her, Thomas. She needs to toughen up, deal with real life." That night, as I lay in bed, I couldn't shake off the heaviness that settled in my chest. Mom's words echoed, sharp and cold, reminding me where I stood. But then, I thought of Dad, his shabby apartment that felt like a castle compared to this, and his words, "what we do with what we have." When Mia was born, everything changed. The house that never quite felt like mine suddenly had no room for me at all. My stuff got moved into a smaller room, the one right by the laundry, noisy and cramped. It was like being shuffled to the side of the board in a game I never agreed to play. One afternoon, not long after Mia came home, I tried to make the best of it. I tiptoed into her nursery, where Mom was cooing and fussing over her. "Can I hold her?" I asked, peeking over the crib at my baby sister, all wrapped up like a little gift. Mom looked up, her face tightening. "Don't be silly, Ellie. You'll wake her. Just go play or something." I backed out of the room, feeling the sting of rejection. It wasn't just that moment, it was every moment like it, adding up to a clear message. Mia was the star, and I was the understudy in a play I never auditioned for. Trying to bond with Mia became a series of stealth missions. I'd wait for Mom to be occupied, then I'd sneak in a few minutes making faces or whispering stories to Mia, who'd gurgle and wave her little hands around. It felt like a secret club, just me and her, until Mom caught me. "Ellie, how many times do I have to tell you? Leave Mia alone. You're always hovering. Let her breathe." "I was just playing with her," I protested, my voice small against Mom's sharpness. "Just go outside or read a book. Give us some space," she'd say, dismissing me with a wave of her hand. It wasn't much better with Thomas. He was kind but distant, like a friendly neighbor you only see on trash day. One evening, I caught him in the kitchen, sneaking a cookie before dinner. "Hey, Ellie. he whispered conspiratorially, offering me a quick grin and a cookie. "Thanks," I mumbled, taking the cookie. "Thomas, do you think? I mean, does it seem like Mom doesn't want me around much?" Thomas paused, cookie halfway to his mouth. "Ellie, your mom loves you. She's just busy with Mia right now. Babies take a lot of work, you know?" "I know, but," my words trailed off, the question too heavy to keep pushing. "Give it time," Thomas advised, patting my shoulder a bit awkwardly before heading back to the living room. As Mia grew, so did the gap between me and Mom. I learned to keep my head down, stay out of the way, and keep my feelings locked up tight. At school, I threw myself into my studies, finding solace in books and the quiet companionship of library corners. Home was just a place to sleep and wait for the next day to roll around. I was 12 when the bottom dropped out of my world, though it wasn't much of a surprise the way things had been going. I'd just come home from school, Mom was in the living room, her expression tight, while Thomas hovered nearby, looking like he wanted to be anywhere but there. "Ellie, sit down. We need to talk," Mom said, her voice cold and sharp. I obeyed, sinking into a chair, wary of her tone. Thomas didn't sit, he just stood there, shifting from one foot to the other. "You're going to live with your dad, Joe," Mom blurted out, like she was ripping off a band-aid. "Why?" I shot back, feeling a mix of anger and fear rising up. "You don't want me around?" "It's not about wanting," Mom snapped. "It's about what's practical. Joe is your father. He should take some responsibility, too." "But I live here. This is my home," I protested, my voice trembling. Thomas finally spoke, his voice gentle. "Ellie, it's going to be okay. You'll see. Joe's a good guy, and you like spending time with him, right?" "But not all the time," I said, my words spilling out rushed and desperate. "What about school, my friends?" "You can make new friends," Mom said, as if it was that simple. I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. "You just don't want me here. You never did." Mom's face hardened. "That's not true, Ellie. This is for the best. You'll understand one day." "Understand what?" "That you're sending me away because you got a new family now?" I was shouting, tears stinging my eyes. "Ellie, please." Thomas tried again, his voice pleading. "It's not like that. We think it's the best thing for everyone." "Everyone but me," I wanted to scream. But I knew it wouldn't change anything. The next few weeks were a blur of packing and awkward, silent meals. Mom stayed distant, while Thomas tried to make small talk, probably feeling guilty but not enough to go against Mom's decision. The day I moved out, Joe came to pick me up. He looked nervous, like he wasn't sure how to do this full-time dad thing. I wasn't sure either. We loaded my things into his old car, the trunk barely closing with all my bags. "Hey, kiddo, it'll be all right," Joe said as we drove away, glancing at me with a worried look. "I know," I muttered, staring out the window, watching my former home fade into the distance. We didn't talk much during the drive. What was there to say? My life was turning upside down, and the people who were supposed to love me the most had just shown me the door. Arriving at Joe's, I was hit by how small his place felt with all my stuff crammed in. It was late, and after a quiet dinner of takeout pizza, I retreated to my new room. It was just the living room with a fold-out couch, but Joe had tried to make it nice, hanging a curtain for privacy. Life at Dad's started rough. The school switch felt like jumping into freezing water. I'd walk down the hallways, and kids would either stare or ignore me, whispering just loud enough for me to catch words like unwanted or new girl. It wore me down, made me start to believe maybe I was as unnecessary as they said. But Dad, he wasn't having any of that. One evening, after I came home more silent than usual, he sat me down at the rickety kitchen table that doubled as my study space. He didn't start with a lecture. Instead, he just watched me with those knowing eyes that seemed to see right through the bravado I tried to put up. "Ellie, talk to me. What's going on?" he asked, his voice steady and calm. I shrugged, a lump forming in my throat. It's nothing, Dad. Just school stuff. Doesn't look like nothing to me, he pressed, pushing a mug of hot chocolate towards me, the steam fogging up the old glasses perched on his nose. I sighed, staring into the swirling chocolate. I don't fit in there. They see me as this outsider. Dad nodded, taking a slow sip from his own mug. You know, I've been an outsider my whole life. It's tough, but it gives you a chance to see things differently, to be your own person. I chewed on my lip, not convinced. What if I don't want to be different? What if I just want to belong? Belonging's not something you can force, Dad said. Sometimes, you gotta make your own space. You're smart, Ellie. You can do anything you put your mind to. Remember, it's not about fitting in, it's about standing out. His words, meant to comfort, felt like a mountain to climb. But then, he laid out a challenge that would change everything. Why don't you focus on your grades, get involved with some activities? Prove to them, and yourself, that you're more than what they say. You could get a scholarship, go to college. Make a new life for yourself. A scholarship. The word hung in the air like a lifeline. Dad was right. I was smart, and I loved learning. If I could just channel all that into something positive, maybe I could turn things around. The next day, I hit the books harder than ever before. I joined the science club, started volunteering at the library, and slowly, things began to change. Teachers started noticing me, nodding their approval at my raised hand in class. By the time senior year rolled around, I wasn't just participating, I was leading. President of the science club, head of the debate team, and on track for a scholarship that would take me far away from the cramped apartment and the school where I'd once been the unwanted new girl. As graduation neared, Dad and I sat at our kitchen table, surrounded by college brochures and scholarship offers. I had done it, turned the tables completely. You made it, kiddo, Dad said, his voice thick with emotion. I did, I agreed, a surge of gratitude for the man who never saw me as unnecessary. And I'm not stopping here. College studies flew by like one beautiful and noisy day. Living on my own had become my new normal, and I was doing well, great job, my own apartment, and a stable relationship with Mark, a colleague who had become much more. Life was quiet, predictable, and I liked it that way. Then came the call that turned it all upside down again. It was a Tuesday evening, and I was getting dinner ready when my phone rang. The screen flashed, Mom, and a knot formed in my stomach. We hadn't spoken much since I moved out for college, just the occasional update, usually brief and strained. Hello? I answered cautiously. Ellie, it's your mom. Look, I'll cut to the chase. Mia is starting college in your city, and we need you to let her stay with you. Just for the first year. Can you do that? Her tone was brisk, as if she was asking something as trivial as borrowing a book, not dropping my half-sister into my life. I paused, the shock making me hesitate. Sure, I guess. When is she coming? Next week. Thanks, Ellie. I knew I could count on you, Mom said, hanging up before I could think of any objections. The following week, Mia arrived with 3 suitcases and a whole lot of attitude. She was beautiful, with a sort of careless grace that made it clear she knew it. Hey, sis, she chirped as I opened the door, stepping in like she owned the place. Wow, nice apartment. I'm going to love living here. I gave her a tight smile, helping her with her luggage. Let's get you settled in. Your room is this way. As the days turned into weeks, Mia's true colors showed. She was spoiled, used to getting her way, and her presence in my apartment felt like an invasion. She had rules about everything, from what was stocked in the fridge to how late I could watch TV, as if I was the guest and not the other way around. One night, coming home late from work, I found Mia sprawled on the couch, a reality show blaring on the TV. She didn't glance up as I entered. Mia, could you turn that down? I've had a long day, I said, my patience wearing thin. Oh, chill, Ellie. I'm watching this, she said dismissively, not moving. frustration bubbled up. Mia, you need to start respecting my rules. This isn't just your place. She rolled her eyes, finally muting the TV. Whatever, Ellie. You used to be fun. What happened? What happened? I almost laughed. A lot had happened, none of which she could possibly understand. But I let it go, too tired to argue. Things came to a head when Mark came over one evening. Mia took to flirting with him openly, laughing too loudly at his jokes, touching his arm. Watching this, I felt a mix of anger and disbelief. Later, when we were alone, Mark raised an eyebrow. Your sister's pretty intense, huh? Yeah, sorry about that. She's a lot, I admitted, feeling embarrassed. No worries. I'm here for you, not her, Mark reassured me, kissing my forehead. But Mia's antics grew worse, her demands more outrageous. It strained not just my patience, but my relationship with Mark. Finally, I confronted her one morning after she had thrown another party without asking me first. Mia, we need to talk. This can't go on. You have to move out, I said firmly, my decision made. She stared at me, her eyes wide with shock. You can't be serious. Where will I go? Back to Mom and Thomas, or figure something else out. I can't live like this, I said, my tone final. Just an hour after Mia left, seething with anger, my phone rang. It was Mom, her voice like a whip crack. How dare you kick your sister out? You're just envious, Ellie. You've always been a jealous, envious girl. The call ended with those harsh words, leaving me stunned but resolute. I knew I had made the right decision, no matter what Mom thought. 2 years had rolled by when I heard the news about Mia through the grapevine. She'd dropped out of college and was tying the knot with some rich guy. Despite everything, I felt it was right to call and offer my congratulations. But when I dialed home, it wasn't Mia who picked up, it was Mom. Hi Mom, I heard about Mia. I just wanted to say congrats to her, I said, keeping my tone friendly. Oh, Ellie. Mom's voice was cold, dismissive. Don't bother. The wedding is for rich people, not for beggars like you. That stung, more than I expected. I see. Well, wish her the best for me then, I managed to say before the line went dead. That could have been the end of it, but later that night, Mark noticed I was quieter than usual. What's up? He asked, his brow furrowed in concern as we sat on our couch, a movie playing forgotten in the background. I don't know, I admitted, feeling the old sting of family wounds. It's like, no matter what, I'm always the outsider. Even in my own family. Later, I found out they'd thrown a huge bash for Mia, complete with live music and all the trimmings. It figured, Mom and Thomas had always splashed out where Mia was concerned. Fast forward another couple of years, and life had taken a brighter turn for me. Mark, who had been by my side through thick and thin, proposed. It was a simple yet perfect moment, and of course, I said yes. Eager to share the news, I called Dad first. He was thrilled. Ellie, that's wonderful. I wouldn't miss your big day for the world, he said, his voice brimming with happiness. Buoyed by his response, I made a more difficult call, to Mom. I'm getting married, Mom. I'd like you to come, I said, hoping maybe things could be different this time. Her reply was sharp as a knife. I'm not interested in attending some poor loser's wedding, she said curtly. So, that was that. My wedding day arrived, and it was everything I'd hoped for, simple, beautiful, heartfelt. Dad walked me down the aisle, his presence a steady comfort. There were no fancy extras, just close friends and a lot of love. It might not have had the glamour of Mia's wedding, but it had something better, sincerity and joy. Life had settled into a comforting rhythm. Mark and I were expecting our first child, and I spent my evenings curled up with books on pregnancy and parenting, eager to learn everything about the journey ahead. One lazy Sunday afternoon, as I was deep into a chapter about baby milestones, my phone rang, slicing through the stillness of our living room. The screen flashed, Mom, and my heart sank a little, memories of past calls flashing through my mind. With a deep breath, I answered. Ellie, you need to help us. Mom's voice was frantic, a storm of panic and demand. What's happened? I asked, bracing myself. It's a mess. We mortgaged the house for Mia's wedding, and now, Thomas's business has gone under. We're swamped with debt. And that's not all, Mia's been thrown out by her husband. He found out she was cheating, and now he wants compensation. The news hit me like a wave. Mom, You have to take us in. She cut me off, her tone brooking no argument. All of us. We have nowhere else to go. The demand was so typical, so expected, that it almost didn't surprise me. But this time I was not the same person who had struggled to find her worth in their eyes. Mom, I won't do that, I said firmly. You threw me out when I was just a kid. You made it clear I wasn't wanted, I replied, the old hurt flaring up, tempered by the strength I'd forged over the years. You owe us, Ellie. After everything we've done for you. She tried to guilt me, as she had so many times before. I almost laughed, the absurdity of her words ringing hollow. You've done nothing but remind me that I was a burden. I owe you nothing. There was a pause, and when she spoke again, her voice was venomous. I'll take you to court and get what's owed. The threat might have scared me once, but not anymore. Go ahead and try. Dad is my legal guardian, and he'd back me up. You wouldn't get far. I ended the call before she could continue, my heart pounding, but my resolve clear. That call didn't just close a chapter, it turned the page on a past that had tried to claw its way back into my life. I was moving forward, not as the unwanted daughter or the family scapegoat, but as a woman who had learned her value, a soon-to-be mother who would never let her child feel anything less than cherished. As the months passed, my belly grew, and so did my excitement. Mark and I transformed one of the spare rooms into a nursery, picking out colors and debating names late into the night. It was a time of joy, an almost sacred preparation for the new life we were about to welcome. One cool evening, as I was arranging baby clothes, Mark came into the room, a smile playing on his lips. Hey, how's the best mom-to-be doing? I laughed, holding up a tiny onesie. Just trying to figure out if our baby will appreciate all my fashion choices. He or she will love them, Mark assured me, wrapping his arms around my waist from behind and resting his chin on my shoulder. You're going to be an amazing mom. His words warmed me, filling me with a confidence that I clung to as my due date approached. But as it often does, life had a twist waiting for us. Just weeks before I was due, Dad called. I could hear the excitement in his voice as soon as I answered. Ellie, how are you feeling? Everything ready for the little one? We're all set, Dad. Just waiting for the big day, I replied, smoothing a hand over my belly. That's wonderful. Listen, Ellie, I've been thinking. Once you're settled and ready for visitors, I'd like to come and stay for a bit. Help out however I can, Dad said. The offer touched me deeply. Dad, that would be amazing. We'd love to have you. Great. I can't wait to meet my grandchild, he said, his voice thick with emotion. The day I went into labor, everything felt surreal. The pain was intense, more than I had expected, but Mark was by my side every second, holding my hand and encouraging me. You're doing great, Ellie. Just a little longer, he kept saying, and I focused on his voice, letting it anchor me. After what seemed like an eternity, our baby was born, a healthy, screaming little miracle. When they placed him in my arms, I felt an overwhelming rush of love and protectiveness. Mark leaned over, kissing my forehead. Look at what we made, he whispered, tears in his eyes. He's perfect, I murmured, unable to take my eyes off our son. We named him Joey, after my dad. When Dad arrived a few days later, he was overjoyed. Holding Joey for the first time, he looked up at me, his eyes wet. Ellie, he's beautiful. Just like you were at his age. I smiled, feeling a circle close. Thanks, Dad. I'm just glad he's here, safe and sound. The early days with a newborn were a blur of sleepless nights and endless diaper changes, but they were also filled with moments of profound joy. Watching Joey sleep, seeing Mark gently rock him, feeling my dad's presence in the house, it all reinforced that despite the hardships, the pain, and the challenges, life had turned out beautifully. One quiet morning, sitting in the nursery with Joey asleep in my lap, I realized how far I'd come. From the unwanted child to a mother fiercely loved by her family, I had broken the cycle. I had found strength in the broken places and built a life filled with love.